I just want to start with the BBC. And full disclosure, I should probably say you've got a history, of course, working in the media as well. You did used to work for Sky. I'm interested to know your views on what's happening at the BBC. Was it right for Tim Davie and Deborah Turness to resign?
Yeah, look, I think it was ultimately right because if you're in leadership, you have to take full responsibility. And a number of these issues in the Prescott files had been raised and not sufficiently followed up on, but not sufficient of itself, actually, Sophie. I think from Glastonbury to Gary Lineker, there's been too many of these examples. If you're a lover of the BBC, you've got to acknowledge that they have given too much ammunition to your critics. If, like me, you believe there is a little bit of an institutional bias, then this is a chance for that to be properly addressed. We want to put the British back into the British Broadcasting Corporation, pride in our country, but also absolute levels of strict impartiality, the same that I know that Sky seeks to uphold. If you're going to extract licence fees on the threat of sending people to jail, and people do go to jail for non-payment of their licence fee, then you've just got to be above and beyond. And I'm afraid there were too many incidents that caused people concern.
I was interested there to hear you use the word institutional bias. Deborah Turness said in her resignation that she wants to make it absolutely clear that allegations BBC News is institutionally biased are wrong. So do you think it is institutionally biased, and what does that phrase mean for you?
Well, look, she's resigned, so clearly she accepts that there are things that go beyond just one individual incident and one particular journalist. The Prescott report was about their own internal processes and concern about systemic bias on that. And as I say, if you just look at things like the way that Gary Lineker was tolerated far outside the BBC's editorial guidelines, the fawning coverage we get every year with the BBC spending hundreds of people down to Glastonbury, which tends to represent one particular view of society, then I think viewers do genuinely think there is an institutional bias there. The best way to deal with that is to fully oxygenate it. Let's have a proper reform, define what public service broadcasting in the 22nd
what some would say,
about.
and I'm sorry for interrupting, we just don't have that much time on the interview. What some would say is that, look, this is kind of almost Donald Trumpian interference. He's been tweeting, effectively gloating about it. You've got people like John Simpson coming out saying only the BBC's enemies could possibly be glad they've resigned. Is the BBC under fire from the political right?
No, look, I don't think that's fair. I mean, you've got people who've been long making some of these same points, like Mark Urban and Rod Liddle, both former BBC journalists themselves. So the right thing to do is to engage with this debate, not to immediately label anybody who has concerns about our national broadcaster coming from the far right or anywhere else. In fact, that's a typical category error the BBC makes time and time again. It's possible to love and cherish a national broadcaster while still fundamentally thinking that the way it covers some topics are wrong.
Thank you so much. Always good to have you on the programme there, Andrew Griffiths.